Alright guys, Epic fucking Slayers here and welcome back to another Division video. Today I have for you an amazing PVE build which has both survivability and crazy damage all mixed into this one package. For this video I've decided not to include my face cam and I want you guys to go in the description below and basically go to a poll. There will be a link, please check it out, and I want you guys to tell me whether you think I should include or shouldn't include my face cam in future videos. I really don't know at this point and I want your guys' feedback. With that said, I hope you do enjoy this one. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new and enjoy my content, turn on notifications if you haven't already, and let's get into the video. Alright guys, so here is the build, the PVE monster with good survivability, great DPS. We're going to start off with the actual build itself, followed up by the weapons and talents on here. So as you can see, I've got 2-piece Lone Star, I've got 1-piece Nomad, 1-piece D3 FNC or Defense, and 1-piece Tacticians, and of course the Ninjabike backpack. So let's go on to the first piece. It's a Lone Star classified vest. Unfortunately I haven't got a full set of classified yet, but once I do I will be bringing a video out about it. But this classified vest, I've got 1387 firearms, skill haste, very important on this particular build, health and ammo capacity, and of course because we are using Ninjabike, we are actually getting the free set bonus on this piece with the 8% LMG damage, which again is very important if you're running an LMG like me, which is the MG5. Moving on to Nomad, we've got enemy armor damage and damage to elites, and it's rolled into Tacticians. This build is primarily made up of firearms and electronics, and as you can see I've got a little bit of stam in there as well, just to activate my talents on my weapons. This is a very good piece, and again because of Ninjabike I'm actually getting 15% health on kill, which at the moment is very important. When you're getting rushed by mobs, ads, whatever you want to call them, NPCs, then that 15% health on kill does help to sort of replenish your health a little bit. And if you're getting multiple kills, especially in the global events where it's pretty easy to get multiple kills quickly due to the headshot, then really you're not losing any health a lot of the time. So this piece is actually very, very good, and I definitely recommend using Nomad with a lot of builds at the moment, especially in PvE with Ninjabike. So definitely recommend that piece. Now moving on to D3 FNC. Now there are a lot of variations of this build, and I will kind of go over a few of them with you, but for this one, this D3 FNC, I've got crit hit damage. Again, I'm trying to get crit hit damage where I can because I am going to have 60% crit hit chance once Adept has reached its 5 stack. So as you can see here, we've got Stam, Disrupt, Resistance, Shock Resistance, and we've got damage to elites, which again is very important. 15% damage to elites is massive. Definitely not worth, not having. You definitely need to find some knee pads that have this on. Very, very important. Now, of course, because of the 2-piece or because of Banshee, we are getting the 2-piece bonus, which is 15% protection from elites. Some people would actually go ahead and put an extra D3 piece on to give you that 10% damage to elites, but I tested it out and I actually prefer it this way. You could possibly get rid of something like Nomad for that 50% health on kill. If you wanted some extra damage and then you could add on, for example, that D3 piece, you could do that, absolutely. But for me, I prefer having that, knowing that if I kill one of those NPCs, I am going to get that 50% health on kill back, as opposed to doing that little bit extra damage. Of course, at the moment, during the global events, then the damage isn't so important because you are pretty much one-shotting a lot of enemies if you're hitting headshots, so damage isn't too important. But health on kill, on the other hand, because you're getting so many kills, and ultimately you are going to be getting a lot of health back. Now moving on to the Ninjabike messenger bag, Ninjabike backpack, I absolutely love this piece again. I'm so glad they actually changed this to what it is now. So I've got health and ammo capacity. I could have other stuff here. I could have crit damage. I could have skill power. But I found that if I don't have a little bit of health somewhere, I am very, very squishy. Even with that health and kill, very, very squishy. So yeah, I do like to have that little bit of health there. Now moving on to the Lone Star gloves. Again, I've got some classified Lone Star gloves. Skill haste, LMG damage, crit hit chance, and firearms. I would say the biggest drop here, or the biggest thing here that's definitely wrong, that you need to change is crit chance. Of course, don't really need that when I've got Adept. I'd much rather have crit hit damage here instead of crit hit chance. And of course, I'd love to have the firearms a lot higher towards the 1401 max full classified pieces, but unfortunately, this piece didn't actually roll with great major stats. I've actually re-rolled put skill haste on there and put on LMG damage. I am trying to get as much skill haste as possible where I can, so that I can reach the cap of 50%. Now lastly, I am running Tactician's Authority holster with skill haste, and of course with the 2-piece, I am getting that 15% skill haste, which again, very, very important for keeping Adept up. and very, very important in this build. So running over to the mods, I'm running electronic mods and they're all running with Skill Haste. If I wanted to, I could drop those and I could put on some firearms mods here with Skill Haste, which I may do once global events are over, just to increase my actual DPS as opposed to my skill power. Bring my skill power down to about, I don't know, 120 or so, but that's not too bad really. Having that extra firepower outside of the global events might be important, and again, I will have to test that when the global event ends. But at the moment, I'm running 5 pieces of electronics with Skill Haste, and as you can see here, if I go onto my Skill Haste, it is at 50%, which is exactly what you want. So moving on to the actual weapons here. Now this MG5 I only crafted recently. Before this, I was using, what was I using? I was using this lightweight M4 with Deadly, Adept, and Unforgiven, which again is really, really good. But I wanted to use those long star pieces because they're very, very good. They give you that extra ammo, that extra damage, which I really like. And I absolutely love the MG5, probably the best LMG in this game, and certainly one of my favourite guns in the game, just because it has so many bullets, it shoots so fast, and all the damage itself is pretty low. I just love it. I absolutely love it. This particular MG5 has 15% damage to targets out of cover, which is massive. I mean, that's more than what you'd get from the Banshee 3-piece. Absolutely massive. 15% is quite a lot. I mean, I'm not going to try and work it out in my head, but 15% of, say, 18k is what? 4.5. You're looking at 22.5 base damage. So that's massive. I mean, that's really, really strong. Now, this has got Adept, Fierce, and Destructive. I would say that this particular MG5, I'd much rather have Adept, Ferocious, and Destructive. Now, you could go for a lot of those talents that make your skills come back quicker, like Cool-Headed, for example, but because I have 50% skill haste, I am getting my skills back very quick anyway, so it just makes sense to me to have more damage rather than get my skills back any quicker than they already are. So I'd much rather have Adept, Fierce, and Destructive. Now, if you're not running a skill haste build like this one, then yes, absolutely, run something like Cool-Headed, for example, or something that's going to bring back your skills quicker. But for me, on this build, Adept, Ferocious, and Destructive would certainly be better. Now, I am modding this for crit hit damage, of course, because I am running Adept. And if you weren't running Adept, you might want to run it for crit, headshot damage if you can hit headshots. But if not, then just go for crit hit damage, because that seems to be best in slot at the moment. And I'll just quickly go through what I have here. So on the grip, I have got reload speed and stability. Very, very good. And on the extended mag, I've gone for rate of fire, reload speed, and magazine. What I could possibly go for here is rate of fire, crit hit damage, magazine. But I do like that extra reload speed. I've got about 10% reload speed, which isn't much, but on something which takes so long to reload, it actually makes quite a big difference. So yeah, that's the MG5 that I've been running, and I fucking love it. If you don't have an MG5, they're actually selling a blueprint at the moment. Pick it up, craft some, and get yourself a wicked one. So I promise you, you won't go back in PvE, and I can promise you, even in PvP, the MG5 shreds, and it's definitely worth crafting and using. Now, my secondary weapon is my standard M700 Carbon. It's got prepared, balanced, and elevated. I absolutely love this weapon. Obviously, in global events, not that important because enemies are just dying left, right, and centre anyway. But outside of global events, in PvE or PvP, this M700 Carbon, or any M700 Carbon with good talents, absolutely melts. Definitely recommend it if you're not running Deadeye. Of course, if you're running Deadeye, you might want to run something like an M44, or actually an M700 you could probably use anyway, but an M44 would be really good, or an SVD, for example. This M700 though is absolutely worth having as a secondary weapon. Now I'll go into the abilities. I'm running a Pulse and I'm running Booster Shot. I would say the only downfall to this build is when I am running a Booster Shot, because I don't have a Vigorous on my chest piece, and I don't get that overheal, which would really be nice. But sometimes I just, change it up for Overdose, get that nice overheal. But in PvE, it's not really needed, to be honest. And especially outside of global event, getting that extra damage you would get from Booster Shot and that damage resistance, I think is better than having the overheal from Overdose. Plus, Overdose does take longer, only 2 seconds, but that 2 seconds can make a difference. It does take longer to actually come back, so that's the reason why. Now, I do run Pulse on this because Pulse comes back in 22 seconds. I have looked at using something like Mobile Cover, which again gives you that extra damage. It also gives you that, I think it gives you damage resistance as well, which is really, really good. The only thing I would say about this is it takes ages to deploy. So by the time you've deployed it, your Adept is gone and not worth it at that point. The only other thing that I would recommend here is something like a Shock Turret. In global events, Shock Turrets are really good because you can throw them down, and a lot of the NPCs that rush you, the ones with the axes and the shields that rush you and get in your face and give you that infection, if you put down a Shock Turret, they won't get anywhere near you, and you can just melt them. absolutely easy. Apart from that, of course, when Striker comes out for Classifieds, everyone is going to be running this EMP Disruptor. So you could possibly, if you can see here, my cooldown is 17.3, so very, very quickly. But I would say in PvE, either Pulse or a Shock Turret, and then running something like Booster or Overdose is definitely worth it. And then going on to my talents lastly, I've got Critical Save, which again I think is really important. I've gone for Strike Back, again I think is really, really important. Steady Hands, now I'm using this because I'm running an MG5, and the recoil on the MG5 is, for me personally, isn't easy to control. So if I go into cover, it gives me an extra 25%. It makes it much easier to actually hit enemies. Much easier to hit enemies. And if you're landing shots and you're doing damage, at the end of the day, there's no point having a weapon you can't control. Even if it's got better sort of base stats, even better talents, what's the point if you're not hitting? For me, I'd much rather run steady hands on either my assault rifles or my LMGs to make sure I'm hitting those shots and thus I'm doing damage. Lastly, on the move, again, I think that's just standard for PvE. Kill a hostile while moving to reduce incoming damage by 15% for 10 seconds. Very, very important. So there you go, guys. I mean, that's the build. As you can see, I've gone for 2-piece Lone Star or 3-piece Lone Star, 1-piece Nomad. I've gone for 1-piece D3 FNC, and I've gone for 1-piece Tactician. So that's given me 100% ammo capacity, 8% LMG damage. I'm also getting 15% health on kill. I'm also getting 15% protection from elites. And then lastly, 15% skill haste. I'm getting a lot. And that's down to this bad boy here, this Ninjabike, which has to be probably the best piece in the game right now. And it's certainly making the game, for me, a lot more enjoyable because there's a lot more builds that I can make and I will be bringing them out. So I hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, thumbs up the video, subscribe, and until next time, peace.